And welcome to Kiwi Conversations with Kiwi Jess, where I interview my favorite people from this community and find out a little bit more about them. And I mean, the best person to start this whole thing off with would have to be Snark, the one and only.
Oh, you're too kind. 100% correct, but too kind.
I feel like you know,
there's a sliding slope now.
Oh yeah, it's only downhill from here, but start at the top. That's the way I like to say it.
Yeah, sure. Well,
you're a bit of an enigma in this space, so I was like, who better to get to know?
Don't get me started. Those are the worst things to call people, though. Enigma. Oh my god.
Okay, scratch that from the record. Not an enigma, just a person.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Person adjacent?
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Person adjacent.
Oh, my God. Of course I'm person adjacent. I'm not a robot.
That we know of. This is where we find out the truth, though.
Oh.
I mean, to start it off, you're with Northern Entertainment Group, which is my former channel, a channel I'm very, very fond of. I mean, because you were in the space before I even came into it. I just wonder how you even got involved in making content.
I really, as far as making content, I'd never really had done anything. Like a long time ago, there was people like in the Schmodown space, and they started a movie or a music trivia show. Oh. And that's the first time I ever did anything was on this music trivia thing. So I did okay. I won a few things or whatever. I think someone you're familiar with, Tim Sim. I think it was him that beat me in a battle royal sort of thing or whatever, and then after that the thing folded, but I was doing fine. And then we have a certain Quebecois friend who started up a show. It was like an audio show, and he I think it was called Frenchie Talks About or something like that. And he was just talking to people or whatever. He just wanted people to help him with stuff, so he got me to talk about Splash on a podcast for 45 minutes, and watching Splash again was some of the worst hour and a half of my life. It's terrible. Like, honestly, it's a movie that does not hold up. At least we got, you got Tom Hanks as a movie star out of it. And of course, as a Canadian, it's great seeing John Candy and Eugene Levy and stuff like that. But that movie is pretty bad. It is not great. But after that, we also have a friend in Video Drew. And she
love her.
She had a show. I'm a patron of Video Drew's, and she had a show where if you like a movie or whatever, you can come on and talk about it. So I went on Cinema Bias, and I talked about Children of Men for a while.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love it. I love that goddamn movie. And after that, they would ask me every once in a while to show up on the former name for Northern Entertainment Group to do
Schmoes of the North. Yes,
to do Schmodown. Do Schmodown stuff or whatever, just talk about Schmodown matches. I did a couple of those. So honestly, when the thing started, and we're doing a new channel in this Northern Entertainment Group, and you guys asked me to come on, I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll help out.
You were surprised by that?
100%. Yeah, I never considered myself part of the crew ever. Not ever.
Interesting.
Yeah, so when it started, I was like, okay, again, I can help out. Like, I thought it's just helping out, and then
you got your own show.
Yeah, it was asked like, do you want to what would you guys like to do? It's like, well, I don't watch movies very often, so that rules that out. And everybody else was doing a movie show, and then everyone wants to do. There was a Star Wars show talked about and stuff, so it's like, well, I love Star Wars, but I would never be the one to talk about Star Wars and about Star Wars. Very much. I just like talking about Greedo. But I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the movies, and some people are better at knowing who the aliens are than other people around here. I'm gonna admit that. Uh, and then it just came down to talked about the Schmodown stuff, and I guess we were kind of coming away from doing Schmodown stuff. So like, fine, but nobody's talking about television. Like, no one's talking about television anywhere. So it's like, why don't we do a television show? Just talking about television. That way, it costs me nothing. It costs me nothing but time.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to go and watch movies at the cinema and then come back and talk about them. You've already got your subscription there.
It has eaten up a lot of time. Like, there's been a lot of time dedicated to watching television shows now that I usually wouldn't watch. But it's not like it's all been bad. There's only been one bad thing that I've had to watch. Two bad things. There's been two bad things that I've had to watch so far, and the show's been on since January, so I don't think that's too bad. That's a pretty good run, and I don't pay too close attention to. Like to the Star Wars stuff, we covered it, but I don't have to like dig in. I don't have to know everybody. I just talk about what I see and if I like it or not. So it's fine. I don't consider myself a critic or whatever. I don't try and watch stuff that that I'm going to go on blast and hate. Like, I do hate How I Met Your Father. I hate it.
Oh, I only watched one episode and I tapped out after that.
I have a rule where if I'm going to watch a show, I'm going to watch 3 episodes, and that'll give me a pretty good. I'm giving it a half a chance.
Yeah,
at least I could.
Yeah,
to get through the one episode, the 20-minute first episode, I felt heroic. I really did.
Just a champion of men just for getting through the first episode.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Did you get through the other 2? No, just that. So that was the one. That was the one out of all of them that you were like 3 episodes, and you're like, nah, this one's just a oneer.
So I had some questions. Like, of course I know who Hilary Duff is, but I've only ever seen her act in one show, and that was in one episode of Community. So I had to ask, of course. Yeah, so I had to ask, like, is she a good actress? Like, is she known for being an actress, or is she known for being a singer? Is she an actress / singer, or a singer / actress? So the people I said,
there's a difference. There is a difference.
Oh, there's a difference. There's a difference, all right.
Like Rihanna, singer / actress, very loosely an actress as well.
Yeah, I remember she did like the board game show, like Battleship.
The Battleship. She did Battleship, and I think that was it. I think everyone went there not doing that.
You know what? It's a classic, but I haven't seen it. I'm sure it's very good.
It's a classic that he's never seen. Instant classic.
Yeah. There's been a lot of classics I haven't seen, to tell you the truth. Like if you think like, oh, all these Oscar-winning performances from like the 1940s and stuff like that, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Casablanca. I haven't seen Citizen Kane. I haven't seen Gone with the Wind. I've seen Wizard of Oz when I was a kid.
I'm the same. So don't worry. Perfect. Don't worry. I am now currently getting through the older ones. I only just watched the Maltese Falcon for the first time this morning. So,
and you're in New Zealand, right? So
yeah,
You guys are like just getting Betamax.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh, like movies are in color now. What?
Mm-hmm. We get the same thing in Canada. At least that's what I hear. That's what I hear from everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's how you got started, was just talking to people in the Schmodown, which is funny because you say you don't watch movies and yet you're into the Schmodown, which is nothing but movies.
You know what got me into it was I was just looking for trivia stuff. Like, I'm always done good at Jeopardy, those kind of things. They basically give you the answers and everything. You can figure it out. Yeah. So Kevin Smith had a podcast with a guy named Mark Bernardin, and I was looking for trivia on YouTube, and I see a thing with Mark Bernardin versus some other guy. So Mark Bernardin's on, I'll watch it, and that was the first Schmodown episode I ever saw. It was fine, but they suggested your suggestions or whatever is underneath. So the next one I watched underneath was Finn Draco versus Lapuga.
Yeah,
So
I remember that one.
That was the first one I ever saw, and that's the one that hooked me or whatever. It's like, this is just wrestling. This is wrestling with something as stupid as movie trivia as the meat of it, right? So it's like, yeah, that's fine. And I don't know all the answers, so I'm not going there. It's like, oh, it's this one. Oh, this one. This one. It's like, oh, these guys know this shit. Great. Like I had no dogs in the fight. I have literally 50% knowledge in all the movie questions. So yeah, so it's enjoyable to me. Like when people pull stuff or whatever, I'm not one of those guys that jumps up and down and is like, oh, that was an easy question and stuff like that. It's like I honestly usually don't know the answer.
Oh, same. You get me to watch a Star Wars match, I have no clue what's going on half the time, if at all.
Not anymore. You should be doing pretty good. Well, you get the names of people anyways. You know who it is.
Yeah, that. But when they're all the call sign of the one person in the background, I'm like, I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
Did they have a call sign? What's happening there?
The one that is the one division that I don't like. You'd figure it's the one that I've watched the most of, just from the first 3 movies, right? Being out when I was a little kid. Like I've seen every single Star Wars movie in a theater, including the first one. So that's how goddamn old I am. But I would, I would never be able to pay attention. Like they don't say the names of the particular ship models in the movies. They don't say the names of the blasters or whatever in the movies.
But you have to know them.
Yeah, it's all things. It's all like additional information, right? It's not a movie trivia competition at this point. It's just Star Wars, and that's fine. If you want a Star Wars show, that's fine. But I wouldn't consider it part of the movie trivia show, and they could have something completely different. Have your own thing or whatever, just about Star Wars, and that's fine. Because you can't get the answers just from watching the movies. You have to dig deep. Ugh.
No.
Oh my God.
You can't be a casual fan and understand that.
No. And I think I do pretty good. It's like, oh, I know some things and stuff like that. Usually my go-to answer when I don't know something is probably Greedo.
Greedo.
That's probably Greedo.
I've seen you in the chat Greedos. Sometimes with just Greedo.
There's a guy that lives not far from me in relation to everybody else in this sphere who seems to
I know what that feels like. Australia is probably the closest.
Oh! I thought there was another.
Oh no, there is another Kiwi.
There's another Kiwi. There's one
other one.
Yeah, but your country only has 200 people in it, so I'm surprised you guys didn't grow up together.
Right?
You probably know them. Like you're probably related.
That's why you don't date around here. You just don't. You have to date people overseas all the time.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. That's why everyone's so short. That's why, and with the big feet.
Yeah.
Is that right? That comes from there, right?
Yeah, absolutely does.
The hairy toes.
Yeah. Because did you grow up in Winnipeg?
Yeah, I grew up here. And I grew up also in outside of Toronto. Toronto is Toronto's so big. Toronto has 2.5, in relation to everything else in Canada. It's 2.5 million people, but it's part of something called the Golden Horseshoe, where there's about 8 million people. Like a third or so of Canadian residents live in this one area. And that's where, after my parents broke up, my dad lived out there. So since I was 7 years old or 8 years old, I've been going to Toronto and stuff like that. So I have 2 kind of hometowns. Spend the most time here in Winnipeg, but also plenty of time out in Toronto to consider it home as well.
Because what do you refer to you guys as? Because I know that we call ourselves Hamiltonians here. Is there a colloquialism for people from Winnipeg?
Well, we're Winnipeggers.
Okay.
You want to know something that's fun?
Yes. Always.
The town I was talking about is Hamilton, Ontario. They all live just outside of Hamilton, Ontario. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it's a little different than Hamilton, New Zealand. I don't know. I don't know if you have as many steel factories, or
lots of farms.
Snow. I don't know. You guys get any snow down there? Not at all.
Yeah, so we do. About 2 hours away from here. It's 2 hours south.
Up in the mountains?
Yeah, that's where like Mount Doom and stuff was filmed for.
Dare you? How dare you? Oh
sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but yeah, unfortunately it's not real. There is no Sauron, unfortunately.
Feet thing is real.
Yeah, no, the feet thing is definitely real.
You guys
That's why we wear shoes everywhere.
Yeah, you guys don't have any shoes. Everybody's just fine, just walking on their great big feet.
That's why you only see me from here up. Okay.
That's smart.
Disaster from the waist down. Let's just not even go there.
I get it.
I mean, you're quite the cigar aficionado. That's what I've noticed. Like, how did you get into that? Because, like, I feel like there's very few people that choose cigars. I know that lots of men often have them at celebrations, but like to have it as like a part of your, routine. How do you start that?
Actually, the routine has kind of gone away because I used to. Well, there's a few things about the cigars. So one, I smoked for a very, very, very long time. I smoked for 26, 27 years and then quit. Like I've quit smoking for 7 years. I've actually, if you'll notice, when I do smoke a cigar, I never inhale it. I'm just puffing on it. So there's a couple things with that. One was my wife does not like the smell of cigars at all. But I don't like the smell of cigarette smoke. And where I was doing all the stuff for this before, that's where she could, it was her computer and stuff like that. So I would go in there and I'd just smell cigarette smoke. So I just puff on a cigar or whatever because I knew she had it. Until she told me no more of the cigars, and I was like, yes, ma'am, I get it. So I haven't been able to. But another thing is, so my dad has dementia. Mm-hmm. And he had smoked whatever too for a long time, and he quit smoking or whatever. And that was the one thing he could do for a while was just puff on a cigar. But that even started affecting him. So I was just puffing on a cigar because my dad can't. It's the same kind of brand my dad was puffing on and stuff like that. So, it's not like it's a very I've been to Cuba. And I do love Cuban cigars, but these things are just regular old store-bought cigars. I think they're not even. It's a chocolate one. It's not even like a cigar flavored cigar. It's a chocolate. Well, it's a chocolate, like it's a cigar, but chocolate scented or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know if it actually smokes like one because I don't inhale. So I get the kind of taste of it in my mouth or whatever, and that's about it.
Interesting. Yeah, so I know what it's like to sort of have a parent with dementia. My dad's got Lewy body dementia, so I know what it's like when you do things just because, they did.
Yeah. It's not great.
So,
It's not great.
No.
Yeah.
But, life's like that though, right? Isn't it?
My dad's been around he's 70. He just turned 70. Here's the 77 he just turned. He just turned 77. And he's outlived his dad by 8 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think, he's doing good. He isn't angry about anything. He seems to be very happy.
That's wonderful.
And he isn't a huge burden on my stepmother. It's it's a little bit of one or whatever. She had.
So he's still at home and everything like that.
Yeah, but where they live, like in Burlington, which is just outside Hamilton, they are walking distance from the hospital.
Perfect.
So if something was to happen where, as something may change overnight. Because with dementia, as it's a series of small strokes. And it usually happens when you're sleeping. So he can wake up and and this can happen at any day. There's no telltale sign.
No rhyme, no reason.
Yeah. He can wake up tomorrow and not know who my stepmother is and get freaked out. Mm-hmm. So I've had conversations with him where he'd be looking at pictures of the two of us, and you have to ask who I am in that picture. It's like, who is that? It's like, well, I'm talking to you right now, and as you know, you can't say you can't grill them on it. You can't say no or whatever. You just kind of
you can't. You can't reason with them.
Yeah, you just roll with it. It's like, well, if I was to tell you he was sitting right next to you talking to you, I'd be right. He said, oh, yeah. Things have been some hard and stuff like that. Like, I had a brother pass away last year, and he had trouble remembering who he was and stuff like that in pictures just 3 months later. So it's not a great. It's a disease that robs you of everything, of your most intimate things, like your memories and stuff like that.
It's a bitch of a disease, honestly.
Yeah, it's terrible. It could be worse. Like there's things that are worse and stuff like that. But especially for a guy with a mind like he had and stuff like that, to have all that stuff taken away it's terrible.
I always like to describe it as grieving in slow motion, because like they're there, but you're almost losing bits of them piece by piece. That's the way I like to describe it to anyone that's like, what is it like? I'm like, it's grieving in slow motion, because it's,
you're at least close to your dad, right? You guys live at least in the same town. You can go and see him.
Oh, he's an hour and a half away, but it might as well be that close. And also with technology nowadays, like you can just video call them. Like, I don't know how people did things before this. Imagine being far away from your parents when it was like you had an international phone call, or phone call that you'd have to be, pausing every 2 minutes to make sure they weren't going to be saying something and, be talking over each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I called my dad. My dad lives in Toronto. Like from here, I believe it's 2,500 kilometers away.
Oof.
Like it's the next.
So that's not a short drive.
Canada is huge, so when it's the next province away, but it's across the entire continent basically from here. We're right in the middle. So, he can, like, I can talk to him on the phone, and it will sound like there's no problem. It's the same voice. It's the same everything or whatever. And, they learn how to fake a bunch of stuff. So it's not till I talk to my my stepmother later and stuff like that. It's like, no, things haven't been great. Like, like he is forgetting a few things, but there's no problems with him wandering off or anything like that yet, which is the big deal or whatever. And she has a couple of tricks and stuff like that, like GPS things on his keys and stuff like that. It's needed.
Because I'm guessing he can't drive anymore, or is he still allowed to drive?
No.
Yeah, okay, because my dad's the same. He's not behind the wheel of a car.
And he loved driving. So when I go to visit him, that's basically what I'm doing.
You pick him up, take him out?
I'll go stay at the apartment or whatever, and it's like, and it gives my stepmother breaks, so I had no problem doing it. Plus, they also have like this Mercedes Benz, so it's really nice to drive. Ooh. So
I'll take you.
I get to drive around in the Benz for a while, but like he will drive, like we'll do 7-8 hour drives and stuff, and he remembers all this stuff, everything from when he's a kid. He remembers. He went to Israel and Iran and stuff like that in the 60s. Remembers everything about it. He lived in Germany and like right close to Poland, and where the all the shit went down out there. He remembers all of this stuff. He remembers the first time he heard like "Oh Pretty Woman," but he doesn't remember his grandchildren's names.
And that's what I always find so fascinating, because if you probably asked him before he got diagnosed to recall anything like that, he probably would have actually struggled, because like most of us do. And yet it's obviously tapped away somewhere at the back of our head, because anyone that suffers from that eventually recalls these long forgotten memories.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane how it works.
It's a strange disease, that's for sure.
Right. Like we said, no rhyme or reason to any of it. It just is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's an odd thing. It's an odd thing to see and hear, and everything's fine. Everything's fine. But in his head, all this stuff, like from the top down, is being erased.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's odd.
It's one of those things. It starts from closer, and then it just goes further and further back.
Yeah. And, and it's one of those diseases that I keep like, at least they know that there's no rhyme or reason to anybody who gets it. It's not a hereditary disease.
No.
Like I don't have as much chance as anybody else of getting it, but I think that would be the one disease. Well, one of the worst diseases you could ever possibly get. Like something that strips you of the stuff like of your memories. Ugh, it's the worst.
What makes you you as well?
Yeah, for sure.
You know. I always say it's like they're like a shell of who they are. They look like them. They sound like them.
Yeah.
Possibly not the them you grew up knowing. Because do you mind me asking how long you got diagnosed ago?
They started noticing a change about 5 years ago, but not diagnosed with it for, I want to say 4 years.
Okay,
4 years that they've known, but about 5 years where they've known. But it was just being forgetful.
Oh yeah.
Before it's like, right, like he didn't.
And especially when you're older, it's like, oh well, it's what happens. Everyone does the whole, it's in my old age, just forgetting in my old age.
Yeah, it's like everybody forgets stuff, but it's when it starts piling up and stuff like that. It's like, I forget shit all the time.
I do, and I've got no excuse.
It scares the wife every once in a while. It's like, it's not hereditary.
My brain just doesn't work sometimes. It's fine. It happens to the best of us.
Well, obviously. It obviously happens to the best of us because it happened to me.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Because what's Winnipeg like, growing up there?
Cold. It's cold. It's very cold.
All the time?
Yeah. No. It gets... Winnipeg is considered a desert climate because Winnipeg has an 80-degree swing in temperatures. We can go from minus 40 degrees in the wintertime to plus 40 in the summertime. So when there's that big of a swing, it's considered a desert climate. But it gets incredibly cold here. I believe it's the coldest capital city in the world. It is. Like when I say it's cold, like it can get to minus 40 and stuff like that, but then there's wind chill factors in there too.
Yeah.
Where it can be it was minus 53 one day here. For over a month straight, it was below minus 30. And usually at this time, when it's that cold, it doesn't snow. But we got so much goddamn snow this year. I've never seen, like, in the history of recorded meteorology here in Manitoba, it's the third most amount of snow ever for a place that's known about snow. So,
wow.
Yeah, and there's been huge floods in Manitoba before, in Winnipeg. There's 3 rivers here, so lots of chances for flooding. We have the place I work at has it's right on the river as well. We've had to sandbag dikes and stuff like that around it before, so much so that the city made us build a permanent water wall and stuff around it, which is, costs a lot of money and has actually worked for the worse one point, but that's whatever. But
so good planning. That's what I'm hearing.
The worst. But yeah, Winnipeg. But it's called Friendly Manitoba for a reason. For the most part, everybody is pretty good, especially when you go to bigger cities. I go to Toronto and stuff like that a lot. Mm-hmm. It's different. You can, like, the people here are just different for the most part. Like when my stepbrothers and stuff like that would come over and stuff like that, they notice a difference. But I'm still friends with people I was friends with in kindergarten and preschool. Everybody stays pretty close. Like, it's a big city. Like, there's about 800,000 people, but it's a small town. Like, everybody seems to know everybody somehow. So it's been it's a real good place to grow up. It's just colder than hell. It's cold. It's very cold. So
do you have lakes over there that like freeze over? Do you do
oh yeah.
Because like
everything freezes.
It's such a charming idea for me because we never get cold enough for anything to freeze over. So the idea that you have kids growing up playing hockey on frozen over lakes,
well, of course,
like, were you one of those kids that grew up playing hockey just because it was one of those cultural things?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, hockey is the main thing here, but like in the neighborhood where I grew up, it was a cul-de-sac, and there was a park, and that park had just a little rink or whatever that we could all go skate and stuff like that. But we're taught to skate at a very young age. It's something that everybody seems to do. This day and age, not so much. I don't think as many kids or whatever get out to play. But it's also, it gets expensive. It gets expensive to teach kids how to skate and stuff like that. Back when I was a kid, it didn't cost as much. But
nothing probably cost as much as what it does nowadays.
Yeah, it's terrible. But also, we didn't compete with video games and stuff like that as much either. And
we didn't really have the option to. It was you gathered around the TV to watch the one show a night, and then that was probably it, right?
That was another thing. Yeah, we had the 3 channels and stuff. But hockey has become an incredibly expensive sport. Like just for equipment alone can run you $3,000-$4,000, and as kids grow up to get bigger, you have to replace it. And this isn't including having to do things like going on the trips and stuff like that, paying for ice time and all this stuff. Like if you want to be a hockey parent these days, you got to be prepared to pay $25,000 a year, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So, I mean, along with actually paying to raise a child, right? It's I imagine.
And the time it takes, and the time you have to take out of your day to do this, and you got to volunteer and do all this. It's a lot of work or whatever. But it makes your kids happy.
Yeah, I imagine raising kids in general is just difficult to begin with, let alone when you factor in extracurriculars.
So people talk about hockey being Canada's national sport. It's like, it's not. Well, it won't be. It'll be soccer. It's just because you just need a pair of shoes to play soccer, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. You don't need 40 pounds worth of equipment. You don't need to pay for ice time. You can just do it in the field. And this is why soccer is the most popular sport in the world. It's because it's the easiest sport to play.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it's getting with everyone. It's not going to stop Canadians from loving hockey and being the hockey center of the world.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that do it or whatever, but like when you see a hockey player that's made it to the NHL these days, they've had very successful parents.
Yeah.
There's very few people that have scraped by.
Come from nothing to get there.
Yeah, there's no rags to riches stories in hockey. They're all riches to more riches, please.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been dominated by European countries anyway. Like the amount of times that you get teams that have
still Canadian here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you won't see a Kiwi in that because we have, I think, 3 ice rinks here. 3. We have 3 in the whole country.
I was trying to think. There is a country in, like, if there's a player that plays for a country, like in the NHL, and their entire country had 1 rink, but I can't think of what it was. It's different now. But
wow.
Yeah, he had 1. There was 1 rink to play at. Like, was not like Slovakia or something. I don't know. It's something odd. Not maybe it was Kazakhstan. I can't remember. I don't know. But yeah, they're like, these things happen where it could work and stuff like that. But I think by that time he's got the entire country behind him. So, and plus, I can also guarantee that by the time he was ready to play like junior hockey or whatever, it wasn't in that country and playing on that team. He was sent somewhere, probably here in Canada. Everybody sends their kids to Canada. The Russians, everybody sends them.
Oh yeah,
fucking Russians.
Especially a country that's well renowned for being hockey aficionados like you guys are.
Yeah, we just have the ability to take these guys in or whatever and train them and make them as good as they're going to be and stuff like that. Like even like America has the same thing or whatever, but I just don't think they have the wherewithal to take as many of these foreigners in or whatever just to play hockey. It's a very niche sport in America, so everybody who loves hockey in America lives basically in the one spot along the top of the United States.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like right near the border. Minnesota, New York State, Massachusetts, all those are good hockey countries and stuff like that because, they don't even have the outdoor ice, but they've been around. They have enough cold weather where they have indoor rinks and stuff so that they can do other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I always wonder about those countries where it does get cold enough that you can, like ice fishing. I've heard a lot about ice fishing, but I don't know whether it's really a thing in Canada or whether it's more or less.
Oh, it's a thing.
So you've been ice fishing then?
I've been ice fishing. I don't go as often, but I think in my life I've gone twice. But I know I have. Again, all these buddies that I grew up in, they try and go every weekend. They all got huts and stuff like that, and auger to go through the ices. I go to my mother's place. My mother lives out of town, not too far, but the way you go, there's a river that goes near the town that she lives in, and you'll see ice huts all up and down the river all winter. And like people drive their trucks out there and stuff. Yeah,
they just drill a hole into the ice, right? And they just sit there.
Yeah, it isn't a thin layer of ice.
No,
there's this. It's a foot and a half of ice that they have to get down. That goes from shore to shore. Yeah, that's a real thing.
We just do fishing out on the ocean. That's how we do it. It's take out your boat.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
We don't get cold enough for it to freeze that much. Jeez, I don't think any of us would handle that like at this stage. We're far too temperate for that.
So, like again, my dad lives out in Ontario, and he's right on Lake Ontario. And those don't freeze. The Great Lakes don't freeze because they're so big. Then what makes it worse is like Canada, like where I live, is very cold, but it's what they say, a dry cold. There's no humidity. In Toronto, because that lake doesn't freeze, the wind will come off it. So if it might be minus 12 degrees Celsius. If there's a wind coming off that lake, it's the coldest you'll ever feel in your entire life. You'll feel it eat into you. Like it goes into your bones and stuff like that. Like you start moving slower. It's insane how cold that feels. But they like to make fun of us because the temperature gets down. It's like, yeah, well, at least the fucking rivers freeze so we don't fucking feel like we're being eaten alive from the inside. It's unbearable. Like Toronto, like downtown Toronto in the wintertime is unbearable if there's a wind.
You must have to be so careful if you're going out on the town for a night of drinking that you're not just out wandering the streets for hours and hours on end, because I imagine that's not going to be good for you in the long run.
Liquor keeps you warm.
Does it save you from frostbite?
It might. You know what? I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure it would.
Is it so you don't know any people that get frostbite over there? Because I hear like there are some places that get so cold that you can like walk just from your door to like down the street, and if you're not properly protected, you can get frostbite from that.
They say that.
Or is that just what they tell us foreigners to like make us?
No.
Like,
they say that. I don't know anybody that's gotten frostbite in a city, that wasn't like a homeless person or something like that. Like, I was a kid and I would, drink with my buddies and stuff like that and lose bets, and it'd be 40 below and I'd have to run around the block in my underwear or whatever. And, I never got frostbite.
What do you mean? Anywhere. Like on a bike?
No, just run around. Run the whole
run around. Oh my god.
Yeah, run around the block of my under. Yeah, in the middle of the night when it was 40 below. But
nice.
Yeah, that's why you don't do bets. That's why you don't bet with your fucking friends. So jerks.
I mean, I'm guessing the bet was the same across the board, that whoever lost had to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I don't know. Again, I was drinking, so it may have been just a work on me. Who fucking knows?
Yeah, I mean,
those things happen.
You can convince drunk people many things. Many things.
I still have all my fingers and toes.
There we go. I don't know whether that's an unusual thing as a Canadian.
Well, I think that's a frostbite thing, right? You get frostbite, you start losing digits and stuff like, or parts of it. Yeah, like
yeesh.
The blood stops running to it because it gets so frozen, so they have to cut it off. And still all there. I'm all good.
There we go.
No frostbite, and I would play outside as a kid all the time. So, and I think frostbite's more of a thing for if you're going to go hunting or something like that, and something where you're going to be out in the elements without much protection or whatever for hours at a time. That's something you have to worry about. But just doing day-to-day things. Everyone complains about you hear some hockey players complain about coming to Winnipeg. And the guys that are here is like, buy a heavier coat. Like, what are you doing out in the wintertime anyways, wherever you are? It's like
more protection. Come on.
You're supposed to be going to work at this time. It's like, it's not a big deal, guys. So, whatever.
I know that you mentioned that you obviously grew up seeing all the Star Wars movies in theaters. Did you know? Okay, so when you saw the first one, I don't know how old you were when you saw it, but did you think it was ever going to become what it is now? Were you like, this is transcendent? Were you like, it's another film? It's just another film.
No, I wouldn't think, but you look back, that is the earliest film memory I have for sure is Star Wars. But I'm not sure when I saw it. Like, I know I was brought there 5 or 6 times. Like, my aunts and uncles would come and get me and stuff like that too. But I was born in 1974, so I was 3 years old when Star Wars came out. But the movies used to hang around in the theaters for up to a year and a half after they were released. So I'm not sure.
What?
Oh yeah. So I'm not sure.
Now.
They didn't have VCRs and stuff like that started becoming popular in the early 80s and stuff like that. And the only people that could afford them were the very, very rich. So so they would just keep re-releasing movies and stuff like that. I remember seeing, like, even after Empire Strikes Back came out, I remember seeing Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, like double bill and stuff like that. I remember going to that when I was a kid. That would have been in 82 because I remember Rocky 3 or whatever was right around the same time, and they would have posters of it. And I remember seeing Rocky 3 in the theater at the same point. But so it could have very well have been 1978 when I remember seeing it in the theater, but they may have been taking me from 1977, but and there's very few things I remember from actually seeing it in the theater. I remember when the Millennium Falcon would go into light speed or whatever it was, that thing or whatever, the stars going whatever. I remember those things. I remember Darth Vader. Like some of the earliest Halloween costume pictures I had was my mother made a homemade Darth Vader costume for me in one of those plastic masks they used to have in the 70s. So there's one of those. And I had all this curly hair. You can see the curly hair poking out behind this goddamn Darth Vader mask and this little cape and stuff like that. So, yeah, no lightsaber or anything like that because they didn't make those. There was nothing. I remember when the toys first started coming out, you got this like a pamphlet or something like that and saying you're getting all these Star Wars toys and stuff so there's pictures of me holding like this thing or whatever. It has a picture of all these action figures that were coming or whatever 6 months later or whatever it was. So it would have been 78 or 79, but with those first Star Trek movie or Star Wars movies, everybody would give me action figures. So I had everything. I had all the ships. I had the action figures. I had all the Star Wars. If people didn't know what to get me for a present, they just gave me a stormtrooper. So I had the legions of stormtroopers and stuff like that. Yeah, just to think about if those things were still in their packs or whatever, how much.
Ooh.
I've done worse. I used to get, I don't know how many Wayne Gretzky rookie cards I had that I put in the spokes of my bike. So it's I fucking I grew up hating the Edmonton Oilers. I hated them. So yeah, and Mark Messier too. Oh yeah, all their rookie cards. Like I see, oh, this card went for $135,000. I was like, fuck me.
Yeah,
Fuck me.
shit.
I get it.
Shit.
But it made me happy at the time, so who gives a shit?
Hey, look, at the end of the day, when you're a kid, you don't really think about collectors. I mean, it's far more of a thing nowadays for things to be collector's items. I mean, back then, how many things were really considered collector's items at that time?
There was nothing. I couldn't imagine being a collector of anything. I have zero interest in, like, I like nostalgia. Like, I have some things, like, over here I got, like, an old Klingon guy or whatever from the 70s and stuff. But I couldn't imagine, like, holding on to, like, and making sure the packages for things. Like, these things are fucking toys. Like, if you want to buy a toy, take it out and fucking play with it. Who gives a shit? If not, you could fucking put your money into GICs or something like that. Those things are going to make you more money in the long run anyways. You're buying these things because they're a toy. Like, I remember the smell, like, when you open up a Star Wars guy or whatever, just that first smell, that weird plastic smell and stuff like that. I'll never lose that in my entire life. So if I was to get, like, an old classic Star Wars guy, first thing I'm going to do is open it.
You're like, don't give a shit that it's a collector's item. Let's open this.
I just want the smell.
I want that smell that I.
Yeah, that's the nostalgia. That's the only time that nostalgia actually works. There's a lot of things that nostalgia doesn't work, and I think that Boron in Russia is finding that out because he wants a war of nostalgia.
Yep, I mean that's very true. That's very, oh god, yeah. Because so you're both a Trekkie and a Star Wars person then, since you've got that, or would you consider yourself more Star Trek than Star Wars?
No, I would consider myself more Star. These days it's hard to say. I would say these days it's pretty close. Mm-hmm. I think I really like the Star Wars shows, like having to watch the Star Wars shows now and stuff. I really like them. I wasn't as big a fan of the Boba Fett show. Just because I had no expectations about the Mandalorian. He's a brand new character in the same world. That's great. Those are the kinds of things I like. You can do whatever you want with that stuff. It's awesome.
The problem with anything that's pre-established is you go in with preconceived notions about it.
Yeah, so they have to meet these expectations, and they're never going to reach them. Like, all these nerds fucking loved Boba Fett so much. Like Boba Fett had 15 minutes of screen time in this entire goddamn 9 hours.
And they were like so hyped on him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we got to get Boba Fett back. It's like, why you need to get Boba Fett back? And then it's okay. Oh, we're gonna get Boba Fett back. It's like, oh, okay, great. Let's see what they can do. And the best thing they ever did was put the guy that they made up into the show for 2 episodes, and that's still the whole entire thing. It's like, oh, good, we had to go through an entire season of Boba Fett so we can get an hour and a half of the Mandalorian. That's fine. Yeah, I'll take more Mandalorian, but I have no idea who he did. And then they started bringing back all these other Star Wars guys. Like, I didn't watch the cartoons, so I didn't know who Ahsoka was. So everybody gets very excited about, oh, there's Ahsoka.
And Cad Bane, you're probably like, right. You don't know who this is supposed to be.
No. Luckily, we know Star Wars guys and stuff like that. So it's like, who is the blue guy? Everyone seemed very excited. It's like,
I was thought, is that Thrawn? Is it Thrawn? I don't know. He's the only blue one I know.
I read those books in the 90s. I read the Thrawn books when they came out. So it's like, oh, like a blue guy and stuff like that. It's like, but he's like this guy has like a cowboy hat on or something. I don't think that's him. So who is this fucking guy? And it's like, oh, he's what's his name? Cad Bane.
Cad Bane, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and he's from the cartoon show. It's like, oh, okay. And he did the fucking Boba Fett thing. He was on, it's like 2 episodes, and then he's dead.
Yeah.
So now, it's
just
like,
for fan
they just said to him, yeah, whatever. I don't know. That's fine.
What a lot of shows and a lot of nostalgic properties just do nowadays. It's anything for a bit of nostalgia because it gives us the warm, fuzzy, euphoric feeling. And then they're like, cool, okay, well, now we've done that. We don't have to do any actual stuff with them.
I get it. Like, if I look on my wall, like I got a bunch of the old Winnipeg Jets stuff, like when I was a kid. It's like I like looking at it. I prefer the new Jets because I'm living in that time. I don't, have to revisit that stuff. I got my Live Aid ticket. I love looking at this. Of my
You
possessions,
what?
that is my most treasured possession. It's from going to Live Aid.
No way.
Yeah, but I wouldn't, I and it's recorded so I can watch it and stuff like that. I can go back to it and stuff like that.
Do you feel like you relive it when you do go back and rewatch it?
No, I was,
Here we go.
yeah. Okay, so I didn't have a ticket. I was in Europe and stuff like that. But when it was announced and like Pink Floyd is going to get back together to go to this concert, it's like, I told like my friend and his wife, like, I'm going to this fucking concert. So I was in Europe because my buddy married a girl from Sweden. So I went to go visit them. I was there for a bit, and I was in Tallinn, Estonia, and then back in Stockholm, and then I went to Copenhagen. I was in Hamburg, Germany for a bit, and Brussels, Belgium, and then in Paris for a while. And then I make it up to London. And the day of the concert, like I still have no ticket. I had no idea how I was getting in. The day of the concert, I started hitting all these bars because, if I can't go, I'm going to get hammered in the bar in London and watch it. But I think it was the women's final of Wimbledon. And the England was playing Australia in the Ashes.
Yep.
So that's all that was on television. So I would go bar, and I had to have at least a couple of beers at each bar or whatever, just to make sure that it wasn't gonna all of a sudden change the live. But they didn't. So I got very, 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 very drunk, and actually the first time I ever ordered Indian food takeout was from there. It's like the best place in the world you can get takeout Indian food is London.
Yeah, absolutely.
They actually invented it. Indian food is not Indian, it's English Indian. But and then this guy introduced me to this beer called Cobra, which was fucking awesome. So I had a few of those and some Indian takeout, and I'd get back to my place. And my place was by Victoria Station.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Okay, so they were having the concert at Hyde Park. So I ate some food and I drank a couple of those beers, and I asked the guys at the front desk, it's like where is Hyde Park and stuff like that, like how would I get there and stuff. So like you can walk. Yeah. And so they gave me this little map. So I said, okay, right. So I go down there, and have you been to London?
Yes, yeah, I have.
Okay, so where Speaker's Corner and is it the statue of Apollo? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the entrance. There's all these people milling around. So I said, all right, I'm gonna go hang out with these fucking dudes. Maybe I'll see some famous people coming in and shit like that. Like, why else are these people hanging out?
Yeah.
And I was there for maybe 10 minutes, and there's the tallest English guy I had ever seen. This guy named Alex. He's about 6'10". Like, honestly, I'm 6 feet tall, and he was like
towering over you,
way over me. So he asked me if I wanted to get in. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, of course. He's like, well, why do you want to get in? And I said, well, I want to see Floyd and stuff like that. And he says, okay. And then he goes over and talks to another guy who had this big camera around his neck. And then he goes back and talks to me. It's like, okay, come with me. So it's like, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, why not?
So I start walking or whatever, and it's Hyde Park or whatever. So there's lots of pathways and stuff like that. He gives me that ticket, and there was much more to it or whatever at the time. We get in and we start walking and stuff. It's like, well, why did you ask me to come in? And it's like, well, I work for a company that has donated a lot of money so that this concert could go on. And they all had these black wristbands on. The black wristbands meant that they were allowed backstage. So they also just had these for some reason. So somebody couldn't come. So he was out there and he just asked, like, the reason why I got in is because I didn't have a camera with me. I just went there. So yeah,
really?
so I got to go in and stuff like that. It's like, okay, cool. And there was all these bushes, and this guy, again, much taller than me. Mm-hmm. And this is 2005, so I was 31 years old. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't, I was tough enough, but I wasn't 6'10". This guy's size tough. So we were walking along the hedges, and I would slowly make my way around them to the other side, so I don't get pushed in the hedges and shit. Because this is how a drunk Rob thinks. Mm-hmm. And he says, "We got to wait here a minute because my girlfriend's coming in." It's like, okay, cool. Yeah. And not even 15 seconds later, he's like, "Okay, there she is." I was like, "Oh fuck, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's her." And she was on crutches or that, and there was 8 other people there. It's like, Jesus Christ, do you need me to carry her? He's like,
you okay?
He's like, nope. Go ahead, have a great time, buddy. So it's like, fuck yes. So I sprinted from there to the gate, and when they took the ticket and the perforated bit off or whatever, and say, okay, you're good, it may be the happiest feeling I had in my entire life up to that point.
Wow.
It was incredible. It was there. The first band I saw was a band called the Scissor Sisters.
Yep.
And then after that, I just ran to see it. It was like, oh, okay, cool. Awesome. So I ran back and I bought the most expensive shirt I think I'd ever bought at that point. I bought I bought a Live Aid shirt, and on the back it says, "This shirt changes the world." And tell my buddy.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it, but I wore it it was an everyday shirt for me and stuff like that. So it's holes and stuff like that. At one point, if you remember, I'll show you. But it says, "Yeah, this shirt changes the world." And it shirt changed my fucking bank account. It was I think it was I can't remember if it was 40 pounds or 50 pounds.
Still, for a shirt. Damn.
At that time, I think it was
at that time as well.
An $85 Canadian T-shirt or something like that.
Yeah, you got to make it an everyday shirt for that price. Damn, you got to get your money's worth.
That thing was what is that Jerry Seinfeld thing or whatever, Wonder Boy or whatever with his yellow shirt. That was Wonder Boy for me. It was the first one out of the dryer. Oh yeah, that was my favorite shirt. I had that thing it held on. God, must have been close to 10 years or whatever, which is pretty good. And I still have it, but again, I'm not the huge nostalgia guy where I have to go dig around and find the fucking thing, but I have that thing. That thing is good enough.
Oh, and that thing's important. That's something, what else are you going to do with it? You might as well keep it for nostalgic purposes.
Yeah. It's one thing I wouldn't want to lose. So I took a picture out of that thing or whatever. And there's a picture of me and my buddy. Picture of me and my buddy. He's like, oh, I got lots of pictures of me and my buddy.
Yeah, I got pictures of him. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need that. I need my Live Aid.
The only framed picture I had. He framed the thing.
So he framed it and you were like, nope, out you go.
Yeah.
Found something else to put in there. And so you got to see Floyd then?
Oh yeah, they were fucking incredible. The biggest thing to this day was when Robbie Williams was there. I was at the very front. I was at this thing. It's called the Gold Circle. So the Gold Circle meant there was 205,000 people at Live Aid or Live 8, but there was a little ring around where the stage was, and I think there was 10,000 people allowed in there, and I was one of the 10,000 that got to be in there at the time. And also there was access to alcohol and washrooms, which was a big thing, I guess, because it was a motherfucker out back there or whatever, and you weren't allowed to bring your liquor in and stuff like that. So, and also you weren't allowed to smoke or whatever there. But and I was smoking at the time, so there was this area in between, like so there's like this corridor area where the stage was, and there was like this BBC big pink BBC bubble. It looked like one of the cars for the London Eye. You know that?
Oh yes, yeah.
It looked like that. So who did we see go up there? I think Madonna, Sting, Coldplay, Ricky Gervais, who I had no idea who that was at the time. I hadn't seen The Office, so I had no idea.
No,
and who else? I don't know. There's a few others or whatever. So they would all go up to this thing because that's where they would get their interviews, because it came in from the backstage part. And then they go up the stairs into this thing. And we were right there, and that's where you could smoke. So I was there smoking with all these British guys. Like Mariah Carey came on, and I remember us fucking booing the shit out of her. It's like, what? Like, what was she doing there? Like, isn't she from like close to Philadelphia? They were doing a Philadelphia one. It's like we didn't have like Radiohead or Oasis or anything that would have fit in London. Well, we got fucking Mariah Carey.
That's odd. That's an odd choice.
But yeah, so I was up front for Robbie Williams, and
was he good?
He was. It was incredible. The crowd, that was the most into it the crowd was. So 200,000 people, and when he started singing Angels, like the entire crowd was singing, so it'd be rushing from behind you, so it's loud or whatever in front, but the noise of the crowd like hits you in the back. It's something that I'll never forget in my entire life. That feeling, just like that whole entire crowd singing that song. Here's one thing about English people: they fucking love rock concerts. It's nothing like what it is here. Like, and I've been to some loud concerts. That was by far the most incredible. It's the most incredible feeling I ever had in my life. Just that sound of all those voices going through. It was like and I was right at the front. So yeah, it was awesome. One of the best days of my life.
And to think it wasn't even something that you had a ticket for, and you just so happened to talk to the right person and not have a camera. Like
I said, it's one of those things where sometimes things just manifest for you or whatever. Like
serendipity.
You wanted something to happen so bad, and that's the one thing that happened for me when it comes to something like that. Anyways, so yeah, if you miss out on a few things after that or whatever, I have to try to say, oh well. But I've had, some good things. Like I lost my hockey team. I got to see when they came back. I got to go see them the very first time they stepped on the ice. I got to see their very first home game and stuff like that. So I've had some good things happen.
Wow.
So, I could complain about a lot of things in my life going bad, but a lot of things have gone pretty good. So, overall. Also, who fucking wants to hear people complain about anything?
Well, there's enough people on the internet that do that. I don't think you need to be like one of them, because then you're just like everybody else.
It was one of the things, like when we started talking about the show, like doing the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this? Tuesday nights on the Northern Entertainment Group.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do a thing like where we just hated things, like top 10 worst things. I didn't want to do anything like that.
No.
Of course, I wasn't planning on How I Met Your Father to exist at that point.
I don't think anyone needed it to exist.
There's nothing I could do. There's nothing I could do. Is the word.
I know that they tried to reboot it quite soon after How I Met Your Mother finished, and I was like, please don't. And then it didn't happen. I was like, cool, great, we're not getting that. And then next thing you know, it was happening again. I'm like, why are we doing this again?
I did a show.
Why are we doing this again? The problem is, you do realize they've been greenlit for a second season. So have you seen this continues, you might. What? So you might have to. Does that mean
no,
that you might
not
have
me.
to? No,
not me. I was out after one. I was out after.
You've tapped out. You're like, no, not doing that.
Our good friend Daniel, who is his favorite show of all time, is How I Met Your Mother. is now having to invest at least 30 episodes into the show. He does not enjoy it as well, but he's a fan of the franchise or whatever. So yeah, like
we need to start a GoFundMe for his therapy, because I feel like that's that poor man.
He's from Quebec. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's tough.
He has no. He has worse things going on. To worry about a TV show.
But no, I mean, that's what I love about your show. Have you seen this, where you celebrate a lot of television?
Well, yeah. Well, that was the point, and like trying to and hopefully getting people on that want to watch shows that we don't watch. Like it's easy for us to watch. Like I was not a big fan, and sort of against covering the Star Wars and stuff like that, but that's what people wanted to see us talk about, was the Star Wars. So it's fine. Yeah. I'll talk about Star Wars. I don't hate the show. I like Star Wars, so I didn't hate it. And I like even Picard or whatever. I can watch that, and the Marvel shows, which are fine and stuff like that too. I'm more looking forward to the Moon Knight and stuff, the stuff where I'm not invested in a character, so they can do whatever they want. That's fine. I like that kind of stuff. But I'll be watching Severance coming up, that new
video
show.
Drew talked about extensively with Lon Harris. So
she's talked to me about watching this show. So I'm going to watch this show, and we'll see what I think about it and stuff. But yeah, those are the kind of things I'm interested in, is stuff that I would never have thought about watching before. So if I watch more shows like that, I'll be happy. I don't need to watch any, I did an entire episode before just about nostalgic shows and stuff like that, and reboots and stuff. I don't get it. And the Fresh Prince one or whatever, it started out, I was very excited. But those first 2 episodes were really good, and it's just turned into soap opera bullshit.
See, that's what I wondered it was going to happen. I haven't seen it, but I was thinking, is it going to turn into one of those shows?
There's good actors on there. It's just they're trying to do so much. They're just they're everybody getting every single person getting their own storyline, and they're having to try and give equal time to every single one of them.
So it's bloated.
Forcing stuff in. It's guys. Yeah. Take it easy. It's your first season. They're going to give you more.
Things don't have to happen to every single person on the show, Yeah.
Just relax. Let things happen. Nothing is happening organically. It's just all of a sudden, oh boom. They want to talk about
and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens.
They want to talk about the youngest kid is going to be sexually fluid. It's great, do this, but don't just all of a sudden in the middle of 5 other things just say, okay, now she's going to do this or whatever as well. It's give it its own time and make it organic. Give it its own time. All these things can be done and should be done. All this stuff should be done and celebrated. That's great. But make it organic, and it'll pay itself off. When you're starting to force stuff in, it doesn't make any sense, and you're just gonna make people mad. You're just who's gonna pay attention to this? Who knows what's actually going on in that show right now? Because there's so much. I don't know.
That's pretty valid.
I like the show. I'm not, and like I said, I'm not gonna not watch it anymore because it's harder. Because they're all hour episodes, it'll be harder for me to pick this show up after missing 5 or 6 episodes. I have to watch it every week now until
it's over,
done. God damn it. But it's better than having to pick up. I watched Righteous Gemstones, which was
I've heard good things. It is good.
It was good. I remember watching the first few episodes at my dad's, but I didn't have the cable channel it has here. So when I did, it's there's all these other things you have to watch, and then it's oh shit, I forgot about Righteous Gemstones. So I picked it up after it had just started its 3rd season, I think. I think that's right. And blew through the 2nd season, and then I could continue. But blowing through that 2nd season or whatever, it's a slog. Even though I enjoyed it, it's just like getting to where you have to get caught up is a pain in the fucking ass with television.
I mean, you're talking to someone that had to get through a whole year's worth of Schmodown in September. So yeah, I understand what it's like when you're playing catch up, and even if you're enjoying yourself, you're still like, "Geez, I just need a mental break from."
So, what do you think of Schmo? I knew that you were new to the Schmodown and stuff like that. It doesn't seem so. It seems like you've been around forever, but you're new to Schmodown. What do you think of watching it? And what do you think of like how watching it now new? Like everything's as new to you as the rest of us. What do you think of it?
Well, because like I came in at the digital era, which I know a lot of fans weren't so keen on. I didn't mind it. I did not mind it. It was quite nice having all this fresh talent come through because of the fact that it wasn't restricted to people that could travel, and so I really liked that aspect of it. And I really fell in love with it. Like the first match I ever watched was 5150. And so I had none of the backstory, by the way. So I had I knew nothing about Alex Damon or Andrew DeMolanta. I had none of that, they've both been kind of rivals in the lead up to this. And yet I still was on the edge of my seat from round 2. I was like, what is this show? This is incredible. It's so thrilling. And, going into sudden death and then, Demolanta calling a challenge, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting so good. And that was it for me. I was like, okay, I'm sold on this. This was amazing, because like for me to have nothing to go off on, and yet I was so enthralled by it. I was like, okay, this is something special. And then I started watching. I developed an attachment to Griffey Newms because he's got
I remember. I
was very quiet about it. Okay, I was very subtle about my.
It was adorable. It was like we never knew. We never did though.
Yeah, I know. One of those very sly fans about it, and watching him with his not only his knowledge but his character, because I've heard that he's very different outside of that. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, what is this? And then you've got, I love a heel, so your Batemans, your Andrew Guys, all of those sorts of ones. I was like, oh, I like this whole, because it's wrestling. And I grew up, so my oppa, my dad's dad, loved wrestling growing up. So whenever we'd go around to my grandparents' place, there'd always be the WWE on. So The Rock and, Stone Cold Steve Austin and things like that. But I never got into it myself.
Yeah.
But I see, and I'm now starting to go, maybe I should start looking at wrestling if this is more of one. No, just stick to the Schmodown. Okay, I'll do that. Instead.
I think you'll be fine. No, but yeah, I get it. Like I spent a long time away, growing up, again, when my dad was here, my dad would take me to, there was a wrestling federation local, there used to be sections of wrestling, out east was WWF, and then kind of between here and out east, there was the NWA. Where I was something called the AWA, and that's where Hulk Hogan was to start, and Andre the Giant, and Bobby Heenan, and Jesse Ventura. All these guys came out of AWA. So that's what I grew up watching. And my dad would take me to wrestling matches when I was a kid. So I got to see all these guys when I was a kid. So I followed the WWF for a little while. And in the early 90s, kind of didn't pay much attention to wrestling. And then when the Monday Night Wars were going on, they used to put wrestling on in the bars here in Winnipeg. Like one huge screen would have Raw, and the other one would be Monday Night Nitro or whatever, the WCW thing. Like they'd have just wrestling was everywhere for some reason for that.
Wow.
But I never really again. So I followed it then, but it had been a long time since I'd watched wrestling. And then, like I was saying before, when I was watching the trivia stuff, and I see that Finn Draco thing or whatever it is, I am Finstock and stuff, and I started laughing. It's like these guys get it. These guys get it. This is what I wanted. I didn't want to watch something as stupid as wrestling, but I wanted that same kind of storyline based thing, but where the results were legit. You couldn't say somebody was cheating. in this. It was like, the results are what they are. You can complain about the questions and stuff like that. Like, oh, I knew that question or whatever. How come that person didn't know? It's like,
it's all relative.
Yeah, it's relative. It's a relative fucking thing. So,
I might be able to answer plenty of questions that you have no idea about, and it's all about what I've grown up with, what I've been exposed to. Like, you can't sit there and say, oh, that's easy. That's relative. You're talking to someone that hasn't seen Die Hard. I haven't seen Die Hard. So you ask me a Die Hard question, probably easy to most people, and I'd be like, I have no clue. I have no fucking idea.
I've never watched it from back to front.
Once again,
I've seen parts. I've seen it all in parts. I've never watched the entire movie all the way through.
But yeah, that's what I hate is sometimes with these fandoms, they get so toxic about this whole like, oh, well, I knew that. Okay,
I'll never get this stuff.
That's great that you know that.
Will you ever understand these people? I will never understand these people. Like this need to prove themselves to nobody. It's like, oh my god, like guys, give it a rest.
No one cares.
It doesn't.
Oh, you knew the answer?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna go on living my life past this point. I'm glad you knew the answer.
The show isn't even about the answers. The show is about the show. Like what happens with it. What happens when somebody doesn't know an answer? Like what happens storyline wise. This is what I was missing the last couple of years, where they just gotten away from the storyline. I still enjoyed the trivia, and they've done what they can to build characters, and some of them are great. Like again, Griffey Nooms, awesome. I love Griffey Nooms. But
Brother Lomas, we were talking about him off camera. Brother Lomas has one of the best characters, I think, in the whole of Schmodown right now.
Incredible. He's incredible. And he's the same guy. And even Rick Radis as well.
Yeah.
So good. Like all these guys that Finstock picked up last year are so good. They were all so good.
Barbarian. Like that whole Finstock exchange faction last year was just full of great character actors, you know, because that's the thing is at the end of the day, I grew up loving trivia shows. One of my favorite reality shows to watch is something called The Chase. It's a British based trivia show. And
I know The Chase with the Beast. Mark the Beast.
There we go.
That. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And those people know their stuff, but there's no storyline to it. So you can watch an episode and move on with your life and whatever. And so when I originally got pitched the Schmodown, I was like, well, I watch trivia. I don't whatever. And then when it was, it's trivia meets wrestling, I was like, I'm doubly out. Okay. I don't know what that means, but I'm probably not going to be a fan of that. And if it was pitched to me that it's all storyline based and there's these, opposing factions and it's like almost a show in of itself that just so happens to be based around trivia. Might have actually changed my mind a little bit earlier, but I'm glad that I did eventually get into it because it's fantastic. And especially now in this new era, there's a good reason why they're calling it Reboot, because it is a huge, for me especially, now I'm getting to see it and watch along with everyone else and see it happen.
So while we're recording this, Team Action got back together. Was that was that any kind of a deal for you?
I mean, I'd seen Team Action.
Yeah.
So I knew a little bit about their history because I'd gone back and rewatched old classic matches. And I love Bateman and Guy as a group. They are probably one of the best teams storyline wise because they know what they're targeting at that point. They know how to look at how much they chewed the scenery in that match. And if you put them against another team that wasn't so strong in their storyline or in their characters, it probably would have felt really imbalanced. But luckily, the Rager and Brother Lomas are so on top of their characters, and they know.
I really like them as a team.
So good, so good.
Them.
But
I think, I had the one problem is that I didn't feel that them teaming back up was earned. I think that's something that you can do it over a couple of episodes or whatever, and it's going to be fine. But just to throw them out again, this is a problem that's happened a couple of times with the Schmodown, where they just have the big match go on right away, like Smith and Chandru again right away.
Oh, right.
Build more.
Whiplash.
Build more. Yeah.
Whiplash.
Guys, build more heat. Just build it. It's gonna be,
It's gonna be Thomas Harper versus Gold Leader right out the gate. You watch.
Yeah, that's exactly it. These guys are building heat on each other, and it's going over a period of time. It's gonna pay off when it comes. But when you just throw it, like, I was, I'm not going to be disappointed in seeing team action. I've always loved team action. They're great. And I've always been a fan, maybe more of a heel fan than a babyface fan, but I really love when baby faces are done right. When baby faces are done right, it's way harder than being a heel. So I appreciate it way more. But I would have rather seen it come to this, like maybe a couple of things at the desk or whatever. Like there
couple
was
of back and forths,
there was
just a build.
nothing.
I know. I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? Is this actually happening?
Yeah,
and then, it was.
The model could be like Knapsack when he turned on Cushing.
Yeah,
that should be the model and stuff like that. That's happened so much so long ago. Yeah, and especially when he comes back out and stuff like that, and say, "I'm sorry, I couldn't make the match or whatever in the handicap match or whatever, but I had to go and congratulate these guys." So good. It's such a classic heel thing to do, and also when Team Action came out, it was Team Action, all right, but it was greatest hits Team Action. It was all the same things. It's like, you guys are better than this. So I'm excited that they're together, so that we'll see something else. I hope they got all the Champs Lunch stuff out of the way. These guys are better than just regurgitating the same stuff they had 4 years ago. Let's see what they can do now, and I'd be excited for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the nice thing about the digital
It doesn't take away from what Radis and Lomas did, because I thought they were fucking awesome together. Like, just having the two of them together, like, and Lomas standing in there and fucking maybe delivering the best joke of the year already.
The repugnant individual.
Yeah.
Just a pile of desk outside of wedlock is probably one of my favorite quotes already.
You're gonna have to marry that desk.
Yeah.
So good. It's so good.
So good. That's what I mean. That's what is so good about the Schmoedown, especially now that they can be in the room, because I think playing off of someone is really good when you've actually got them physically there.
It's different. It's
a whole different kind of thing. But the nice thing about the digital era is you got that buffer to really build, because you had so many matches that you didn't feel like you had to cram storyline into lesser matches. So you got the build up of, Gold Leader and Thomas Harper back and forthing in every after show they were in. Calling each other out across everything for weeks on end, and then you'd have the payoff. And that was the nice thing about the one nice thing about the digital era was, because we had so many matches, was you got a lot more of that slow build of Chandru, slowly turning. He didn't, turning on Swag. It wasn't like he had a match and then next thing it was like, oh, I want that, I want my, my number one contenders match now. Let's go. It was a slow build of him talking smack for weeks and then suddenly being dropped.
I love what Chandru did last year.
He's fantastic.
What he's doing so far this year, and it just seems so natural to him. I bet you he's the nicest guy in the fucking world.
Oh yeah.
He just knows how to play Chandru Dandapani on the Schmoedown, and it's perfect. He's people fucking hate him. And you're supposed to. You're supposed to hate some of these people. Like, not all these people are supposed to be, oh, I bet you he's such a nice guy. No, you're supposed to hate these people. He's doing his job right when you hate him.
Yeah, when he comes on screen, you're like, oh, go away. Like, that's when you're being a good heel, is when you get booed.
Yeah.
And people genuinely, I've seen the chat light up when he's appeared, and they're like, oh, boo. I'm like, yeah, he's doing his job right. It's the mark of a good actor. If people can't stand you, you're doing it right.
Yeah. There's very few people that can do what Chandru does. Mike Kalinowski, I think, is in that neighborhood as well, but he can play it both. He does both ways well. Yeah, he is the ultimate guy who can flip-flop between them, and he's fine doing it. I just don't know anybody else that can draw the heat that Chandru can right now. You
got to lean into it. You got to fully lean into it. That's why. Yeah. And I think so many people are like, oh, open the door, maybe just peek inside.
He's made very few changes from when he was coming in as a babyface. That dance is still the same. It's the exact same dance. He's doing everything the same, except that he's understood that people didn't, or people thought he was over the top or whatever. So he leaned into it. That's it. That's all he had to do. And that's the part. Yeah, he's one. He's one of the few guys that actually just got it. Like, this is how you become a babyface. It's earned. He earned it. He earned it. He's never really changed character. Slight tweaks. That's about it. I love it. I love that stuff. Like, I don't have to have I'm a big, huge Ethan Irwin fan, but just to have him switch like that, it's like, how is this earned?
It was whiplash for me as well. Yeah. I was like, hold on. Like, and that's the thing, is there were no seeds planted for it. There were no, just little bits here and there. It was just like, bye, Janine. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And I hope it's just them trying to get their groove back into this sort of thing, because going back and watching classic matches, you see a lot more eventual, like when Team Action split up, it wasn't just some sudden turnaround. There was a little bit of discourse, and then
well, there was that whole corruption angle or whatever, where they had the corruption invitational or whatever, where they split up all the teams and stuff like that. So I got all that stuff. Yeah, that stuff was kind of earned, and Bateman had that great run with Riley. So what are they going to do? Just throw this back together, see what happens with this. And then it's not like Guy didn't have a propensity for violence before. Drilling Roca.
Yeah. That was a moment for sure, because apparently a lot of people in the actual audience didn't know.
There was few people that knew. That's what I heard. There was few people that knew.
Roca knew.
Yeah, well, he knew. He could praise for it. You could see him a little.
But he even
praise for it a little. But he had spent a little bit of time wrestling, so he got it. So he knew how to take it and stuff like that. But
he said that because we did an interview with him over on Mount Schmodown, and we got to talk about that, and he even said that he momentarily forgot because he was obviously riding the high of his win, and it wasn't until he started charging and he went, "Oh, that's right." And had to quickly turn around and brace himself for this fall.
He took it pretty well, and he's a big guy, and there was no padding on that stage or whatever. He just knew 4-point plant.
Yeah, got
it. Like, I don't know if Matt Nost knew about it. Just the look on his face or whatever when that happened. I think he was ready to throw some punches and stuff.
Oh yeah. There was apparently a couple of people off camera that you couldn't see that were actually having to be held back because they were about ready to come on and
Yeah, I think that was that Team Action's first year.
Ooh.
Was that that was the second time or the third time they played Team Top 10, I think. It was the last time.
Second.
No, I think the second time they played 10. They beat them the one time.
Yeah.
And then,
they weren't so lucky the next time.
Oh, well. Matt Nost, I think.
You win some, you lose some.
Matt Nost may be one of the most underrated players in the Schmodown. Not because, and again, it's not a knowledge thing for him. He knows what he knows and stuff like that. Just character-wise, and it's just himself. He's himself every time or whatever, and he's just a fun guy to have on the show. So, he's one of the guys that I miss a lot from that isn't on the Schmodown on a regular basis anymore.
Yeah, we've had Sam Levine come back, so you never know. I mean, he was in it as a manager, but I wouldn't have had him coming back as a player on my bingo card if I had one for the Schmodown. It wouldn't have been on there.
I don't know why he left. I honestly don't know why he left in the first. If it was a matter of having to be on so much to defend the titles and stuff like that. I get that, but
go out on a high. That's a great, and then come back in with a win. Geez, he just dominated.
Yeah,
which is terrifying, and it means a huge thing for the singles comp going forward.
Yeah, not getting anything wrong or whatever. It's I really like Marisol. I'm hoping that she gets her shot against him again. I'd like to see what happens, but Yeah, like I was following. I knew, like I never watched Freaks and Geeks growing up. I was busy working and stuff when it came out. There was no like there wasn't a show that I recorded or anything like that on my VCR at the time. Um, so I didn't know much about Sam except for when I was watching Doug. I would listen to Doug Loves Movies.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
and he would show up on there and he would kick ass. So I knew that this guy was going to be good.
Mhm.
And then like the only thing I'd ever seen Sam Levine on before was Kevin Pollak's chat show, which was a podcast or whatever, where Kevin Pollak introduced or interviewed guys. Sam was on that as his psychic sort of thing, and then he was a Little Wolverine in a Pete Holmes show.
Oh,
So yeah, if you hear people call Sam Little Wolverine every once in a while,
that's why.
that'll be why. It's because he was on like a show as like a little tiny Wolverine. But yeah, so I knew from Doug Loves Movies, like with Doug Benson, that he was going to be good. So yeah, I'm thinking like I've seen Doug Benson come on the show. Like I thought Doug Benson knew more about movies than Sam, but
Yeah, that was surprising for me.
well, and that's to take nothing away from Jen Kemp, who
No.
I think is fucking great. I really like Jen, but I think he should maybe smoke less weed. Like I understand that's his brand. His
But
brand
yeah,
is to smoke weed, but maybe less weed.
a little bit less.
Less weed, and he'll be just fine going forward. But like when I saw he was an option for teams, I was like, I have no idea why people aren't jumping on Doug Benson. Like
Right.
he does a show about this all the time. Like
It's like same as Griffey. You know, his whole podcast is about movies, and look at how insanely good he is.
You know, I never knew. Like I'd actually listened to the show, and then he did shows on how did this get made? Like he would go on to, and he was on that and stuff. And I never put two and two together. It took like a good 3 months, 4 months of Griffey News being on the show or whatever for me to go, oh, that's the guy from that. It's like, oh,
You must get blinders. You
I
get
guess
blinders
so.
up. Brendan Meyer was one of those ones for me because I love The Guest as a film. It's one of my favorites. And I kept looking at him and I was like, why do you look familiar? And I never looked him up. I just kept wondering instead of doing, you know, the normal thing, which would be to Google him. Instead, I just kept staring at him going, where do I know you from? And then it wasn't until one day where I clicked and I was like, oh, that's why he's the floppy head kid from The Guest. Okay.
I never recognized him. I heard that he was Canadian, so I was obviously going to say, yay, Canadians.
He's a good baby face. He's a very good baby face.
He's one of the best. Like him and Bibbs. Like who's gonna cheer against William Bibiani? And the kid, like, come on. Monsters. That's who does it. Monsters. I watched the OA, and I guess he was on the OA.
Yeah. You're like, couldn't tell.
I didn't. Well, the OA wasn't the best television show I've ever watched. I can tell you that. But I watched every one of the first season. I heard there was a second season, so good for them. Because I watched the first one. That was enough.
You're like, that's it. That's me done.
I put in the 10 episodes or whatever the hell it is.
You gave it a good shot.
Yeah, I give it a full shot. I give it a whole
yeah,
season.
more than your usual 3.
There's a show called Designated Survivor.
Ooh.
And oh no, don't say ooh like it's good. It was crap. And it was Kiefer Sutherland. So Designated Survivor, like the guy who's considered the Designated Survivor, is the one member of Congress that's kept away from Congress when they do the State of the Union addresses, just in case a major catastrophe happens.
Yeah.
So major catastrophe happens, and Kiefer Sutherland, by proxy, is now the president of the United States, even though he was like 50th in line or whatever the fuck it was. And
that's who you want in power, is the person that's the least favorite, right?
Yeah, and he was like he was a teacher, or he was an economics major. It doesn't matter. It was fucking terrible. So William Bibiani put a thing out or whatever, saying, "What is the worst television show you ever watched every single episode of?" And I said, "Designated Survivor." Like I legitimately hate watched it. Like there was a point where it's like, I fucking hate this show. I have to know what happened.
I have to finish it.
Yeah. I got 2 likes. One was from William Bibiani. The second like was from the guy who was the showrunner of that show. So I always thought that was pretty funny. So, yeah.
Well, that's a claim to fame, is just bagging on someone's show, and I love when people are self-aware enough to like stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just being self-aware. Like you guys he had, what was it, 2 years on ABC and then 1 year on Netflix, and the year on Netflix where they're allowed to swear and have sex scenes is like, oh my God. It's like, you guys don't need to go through all of this for this. So I only watched this because it was one of those things after I watched a series or whatever. It's like, you know how they have those, we recommend these 3 shows or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that I fell asleep while watching that one or whatever. So it looked like I started watching it. So I decided, okay, I'll watch the first episode.
You're like, okay, you got me.
Yeah, so I watched, and I did the rule of 3, and it's like, I hate this show. I need to know what happens. I hated it.
Is there any that you haven't been able to get through, like the first episode, and you've just, you said How I Met Your Father was one that you struggled to get to the end.
There's another one. There's another one out now. Okay. So Netflix in their wisdom has a show now called The Guardians of Justice or something like that. Guardians of the Justice or something like that. So it looks like stylistically, it looks like a CD-ROM game from the 90s. But this time it's starring Diamond Dallas Page for some reason as some kind of fucking Batman. It is yeah. This is another one Daniel started watching. It's like, you gotta watch it. And I made it through 2 episodes, so I got through the second one or whatever. But like they're just trying so fucking hard to do something with this. But honestly, it looks like of course you wouldn't remember like 90s CD-ROM games.
I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this thing looks like it was made for a 90s CD-ROM and stuff like that. Whenever it goes to like the characters, and then it'll do the Batman style boomp and womp and or whatever. It's fucking bad.
So it's just trying to borrow from anything that was popular, and it's like, maybe this will make it better. Let's do that.
I don't do drugs as much anymore, so I'm sure if I did, I'd find it more enjoyable. But
drugs make a lot of things more enjoyable. Let's be honest.
They are very fun. There's a reason why people do them. It's to make things better.
Right.
Kids, if you're listening, drugs are cool and they make you cooler, and things are better.
Peer pressure is great.
Don't forget it.
No. Okay, give in to peer pressure and do drugs. If someone offers you drugs, you do them. So,
and if anyone says drinking and driving isn't fun, you can spit in their face and call them a liar, because it's the funnest thing to do in the entire world.
So it's funny. My dad was very much like when your parents get to that stage where they start talking to you about alcohol and drugs. My dad was very much of he's like, I grew up smoking weed all the time. I've done a lot of acid in my time. He's like, as long as you're not putting yourself in danger or whoring yourself out for your next hit, you can experiment. Direct quote from my father, by the way. Yes, as long as you're not putting yourself in danger or whoring yourself out for your next hit, you should experiment with whatever you feel like experimenting with.
Acid didn't cost a lot. Like, would you ever consider yourself whoring out for a $5 hit of acid? Oh my God.
I mean, I took his advice. I never got to the point.
Well, thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that.
I mean, it was sage advice, because instead of like my friends who got told you can't do drugs, don't drink, don't do drugs, and they were like, well, now I have to find out what it's about. I was sort of like, oh, okay, well, can't be that cool if my dad did it all the time.
Yeah, no,
You know,
I
it's my dad, and he dropped tabs of acid all the time. Like, ugh.
Okay, so did you ever know the reason why my name's Snark?
No.
All right.
Let's hear
So,
this.
uh, in high school, we used to do a lot of acid. So, bring this all full circle. So I had a buddy, Kevin, and we fucking eat acid, eat acid, and then had drinks and stuff like that. And my name's Rob Clark. So it was Robbie Clark all the time, everybody, because there's, I was a 16, 17-year-old kid in Canada. Everybody's name was Robert, Robbie. So, so it was always Robbie Clark. So Kevin was a little wasted, and but instead of Robbie Clark, is Snark. So Robbie Snark, and people would say, "What are you saying?" So Snark, Robbie Snark, Robbie Snark, Snark, Snark,
Snark.
And everyone just started fucking howling, and they started saying Robbie Snark, and then it just got cut down to Snark. So the reason I'm Snark is because people who are my friends call me Snark. It's like people that don't know me or whatever know me as Rob or whatever first or whatever. But yeah, no, and going on to the internet, and there's however many Roberts or Robs and stuff like that. So there was only one fucking Snark, and this is before this. I heard about this term about the way people talk is snarky.
See, and that's what I thought it was. I was like, oh, it's you're giving them snark. No, it was an acid fueled fumble.
I'm giving them snark all the time. But yes, no, it was an acid riddled fumble for sure. But it just stuck. Like my best friends from high school or whatever it's my name's Snark. So yeah, because they all know the story of when Kevin couldn't say my fucking name right because he was so wasted. Fucking guy.
My dad said some of his best stories have been when he's been on acid. So
I loved it. I was never a fucking huge trip out guy though. Like I never got like hallucinations and stuff like that. Everything
you didn't?
No. But everything became way more intense. Like I was never as happy. Those are the kind of things that I got. I never really had oh, look at the pink elephant. Ooh. I never I always thought most of that was pretend from people. I just got intense happiness. I got so happy. And then we'd be in a spot, like if I was in a kitchen or something like that with my buddies, and it's like, guys, someone said, I think we're in an aquarium. It's like, oh shit. It's like, what? It's like, guys, I think we're stuck in an aquarium. It's like, oh fuck. That I would get that, but I wouldn't start thinking, oh blah blah blah. I can't. I wouldn't get that or whatever. It's like, oh shit, I'm stuck in a fucking aquarium.
As you do. Those are just normal thoughts.
Yeah. But yeah, that was acid for me. It's like just intense happiness. There was of course, the flip side, which was intense fear. So I had that happen. So that's why I didn't do acid anymore. But,
so did you have like the one bad trip and you were like, I'm done?
That was it. Yeah, I had a real bad trip. Fucking ended up at home. And my mother trying to fucking bring me down and stuff like that. I was like, oh.
No. Did she know you were on acid?
Yeah, I told her I took way too much acid.
You're like, Mom, I'm having a bad trip. You need to help me here.
That's almost verbatim what I said. So, she's like, oh, all right. Like she she was a fucking flower child in the 60s. She got it. So
yeah. Like I said, my dad was quite proficient in the acid taking, so he was like, just be safe.
I was like, much bigger fan of mushrooms. Much bigger. Again, it's just intense happiness, but without the fucking being paranoid about everything, which was great.
So did you just switch from acid to mushrooms? Was it just
No. I just kind of dropped the acid and just took more mushrooms.
Continue with the mushrooms.
Yeah, and then I was with someone for a while, and I never really did mushrooms while I was with her. And then as soon as we were done, I took
on the mushrooms.
a lot of mushrooms. Yeah, when I say a lot, I took a lot.
Was that your weekend? Your weekend sorted? Just some drinks, some mushrooms.
Drink? No. I just fucking eat them. Like,
nice. There we go.
Yeah, I wouldn't fuck. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna waste time.
You're like, no. Why are we bothering with even drinking
Some people
alcohol?
did that, but yeah, no. I would eat them like potato chips, Jess. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't give a fuck. Yeah, I don't.
I mean,
I don't anymore. But yeah, there was a time it was hard. Yeah, it was hardcore.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. My brother's a big fan of mushrooms. Big fan.
They can be really fun. I imagine that people should be more responsible than me. But again, I never I hated doing things when I was on mushrooms. I would never go out to a place on mushrooms. I would be hanging out at my buddies' cabins and stuff like that. And then I'd be more than happy just to stay inside while I was doing it.
So just to chilled out.
Yeah, very much so. But there'd be things like my buddy and I ate a fucking ounce of mushrooms one night. And we're playing Scrabble.
Mm-hmm.
And we were listening to this band called The Thievery Corporation or something like that. I think they're South American, but there was this weird, or they're from DC, but they just sampled a lot of South American stuff. And there was this one weird song where it was in my head the entire night. It kept getting played and played and played. This bibbidi bop, fuck, I was right into it. Fucking playing Scrabble, and the fucking the Scrabble board would light up like neon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But an old sign or whatever that's flashing and stuff like that. And and me making up words or whatever is just throwing the tiles onto the. Oh yeah.
I was about to say, how does Scrabble go when you're on mushrooms?
I have no idea. I just remember playing it. I don't know who won. I don't know if I made any words or anything like that. I probably did. I probably tried to spell bibbidi bop. Whatever.
But using Q's and T's.
Yeah.
No definitely would have sworn.
I am sure that no one tried fucking counting up the points. Yeah, there was this.
Who's got time for that?
There was this piece of sausage I remember that got tied up in these leaves, and we used to call it a burnt baby Moses or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, probably very accurate.
Oh yeah, that's as well, it's as accurate as the story. But what are you?
Yeah, just a bit. A bit. I love that. So one of the things that is going to be known on this show is a thing called the Game of Evil, where I'm going to give you.
All right.
One's got to go, and because you're Canadian and we like to stereotype around here, all your ones are going to be Canadian based. So
I have no problem with this.
So hockey or Tim Hortons, one has to go.
Tim's.
Well, right off the bat, didn't even have to think about it. Okay, cigars or alcohol?
Cigars, no problem.
There we go. Okay, Rick Moranis or John Candy?
Unfair.
Oh, the whole filmography is wiped from the table. You cannot watch a single one of their films, whoever you decide not to keep.
This is unfair. And the problem is both of them, their careers ended about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Moranis both of them because of unfortunate circumstances.
Right, yeah.
Who, goddamn, and SCTV
yeah.
was such a big part of my life growing up as a Canadian. SCTV is very important. To get rid of one, oh gosh. Rick Moranis.
Can't back out of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Goddamn. That's
no more Little Shop of Horrors.
You
more.
are. Well, I have no problem with that.
Not a musicals fan?
I got a musical there. I like that musical. So I watched your show, Jess, about you watching that certain show. So I did a show for a brief time that was supposed to be with Frenchie.
Mm-hmm.
It called what was it called? Snark's Midlife Crisis.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did a thing with musicals. So I watched Hamilton, and I love Hamilton. It's one of my favorite things ever.
So good. Have you gone to actually see it though?
No, I've heard that. Yeah, I'd love to. I would absolutely love to. I've heard that it might be going, like, one of the touring shows might be going to Vegas. That would be my easiest way to see it. 'Cause, like, again, my wife is heading out there next week. We go out there quite a bit.
Nice.
Again, I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. I watched two other ones. I watched what was it? Les Miserables.
Oh yes. How did you like that?
I didn't.
It's not great. I'm sorry. No. I'm going to annoy a lot of people on the internet, but that film is not good.
You're not going to.
Russell Crowe singing should have never happened. How did he audition and how did he get cast?
You know what? You want to know a weird thing about Russell Crowe? So he has this fucking band called, what's it, 30 Feet of fucking something stupid. You would know more because he's Australian.
He's Australian, but I
said it's pretty close. 30 Odd Feet of Grunts is his name of his band. So okay. Russell Crowe, a long time ago, did a movie here in Winnipeg. So he does this world tour with 30 Odd Feet of Grunts. And of course, the first place he had to play was fucking Winnipeg, of all places. Winnipeg. Like, I didn't go.
Yes, you do. That's where you want to kick off all your tours.
You know what? There's a bunch of people that did kick off tours or ended tours here. Like the last ever Fleetwood Mac concert was supposed to be here in Winnipeg. It didn't turn out though, because everyone keeps turning afterward. The Pixies come from St. Paul, Minnesota, so they've come here so many times and stuff like that. So we all got tickets to go see the Pixies, and when the Pixies got back together, it's like this is the first stop was in Winnipeg and stuff like that. And then like 3 weeks before we paid all this money, they announced their show in St. Paul 2 days before. So it's like, sons of bitches. Oh well, but we still got to see the Pixies come back together. But yeah, sure. So he has a band, 30 Odd Feet of Grunts. I don't suggest looking them up, but yeah, they've played live here in Winnipeg, and they're only Canadian stop of that tour for whatever fucking reason. But yeah, I did not like. I don't understand how that musical is so popular. It's the most popular musical ever, supposedly.
It's ridiculous. Les Mis, really? Yeah. I don't like that.
And then I watched that butthole movie that they took the buttholes out that you watched.
Oh yeah, how was that for you?
I hated it. I fucking hated it. There's no fucking story. The entire
just doing character introductions. That's all there is. I'm like, why did no one tell me?
It's just I'm fucking Mr. Whiskers, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, don't worry about that. I'm Mr. Whoever.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is
There's no story. It is literally I'm so and so. Moving on.
And Gandalf getting sad backstage. Oh my god. The worst. How have people watch? This is what, I don't know. How long has that fucking musical been going on? Like, it has one song. It has one memorable song. Get it?
Memory. Yeah. It's the only good one as well. The rest of them. Yeah. Jellicle Cat's fine. It's okay.
You know that those things... Did you look up, like, Jellicle Cats, what it means and stuff like that? After?
Apparently it's a nighttime cat. I don't know.
I forget what it is. I looked it up. I was perturbed.
I looked it up, and then my brain went, you don't need this information ever again. Why are we doing this?
That's exactly what just happened. It's like, I looked it up for that show. It's like, Jellicle? What are they saying? Jericho? Like, I know it's Jellicle. I was like, what the fuck?
And then you look it up and you move on with your life. That is precisely what happened with me. Is I just looked it up and I went,
I was looking up a lot of stuff while that was going on. It's like this, just how long? Like I think they say it made its Broadway debut in 1982, and it was there for 20 something fucking years, like in a row.
It was like one of the longest running musicals for a while.
Rum Tum Tugger.
Yep.
Oh my God! How dare they? How fucking dare those guys?
Right.
It's the worst. The worst.
I don't understand when they were filming it and going, this is going to be a masterpiece. Like, there is nothing to suggest that they were actually going to do well.
Idris Elba was in that movie. Like, there's so many people in that movie. There's people that you're not surprised. Like James Corden is in that movie. I'm not surprised it was terrible. But Idris Elba's in that movie. I don't know.
Yeah. No, James Corden I did not care for in any of it.
The only thing I've ever liked James Corden in was an episode of Doctor Who. That's it.
I'll give
Doctor Who.
But it's because it's Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it was Doctor Who. That's the only reason why I can't stand him. If it's just not for me.
I've never watched that. What's the name of the show he did in England that was super popular? Ned and Stacey? Is that his show?
Gavin and Stacey.
Gavin and Stacey. Okay.
I never watched it either.
Yeah, but that's my thing. Like, I do the TV show and stuff like that. If it came down to it, I just want to watch like English fucking panel shows. Like, I want to watch.
They're the best.
8 out of 10 cats do Countdown. I want to watch, or just regular 8 out of 10 cats. I want to watch Would I Lie to You? Those are the shows that I want to watch. Those are, and they're just on YouTube. Even my wife loves 8 out of 10 cats do Countdown, and she doesn't like anything I like. Nothing. So, no, not one bit. So yeah, I would. So I'm allowed to like watch that show like as we're going to bed and stuff like that. It was one of my favorite things, and like
so good.
Like unfortunately watching Sean Locke or whatever disappear on us, especially after it happened to my brother and stuff like that. It's like, God damn, like fucking what a shitty disease. But I love that kind of stuff, and even like Pointless and like their game shows and stuff like that. Mastermind, I fucking watch Mastermind. Most of the questions about British fucking Parliament stuff, like how the fuck would I know? But I watch it. I watch it all the time.
Have you ever watched Big Fat Quiz of the Year?
That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite Christmas thing to do. My favorite.
So good. Every year I look forward to it. I'm like, here we go. It's great.
It's the reason how I got into 8 out of 10 Cats Do Countdown, is of course because Jimmy hosts Big Fat Quiz of the Year, and then having guys like Sean Locke was on one. Like when I watched it, I went back through or whatever from almost beginning. Like there's one year where they have who's the chef? Who's the actual chef? The Hell's Kitchen chef.
Gordon Ramsay?
Gordon Ramsay was on one year with Sean Locke. They have the guy that went to school with Radiohead. I know all the guys that just haven't. This is why I was never good at movie trivia. I have such a hard time remembering names. I can remember all their faces and stuff like that.
Faces, faces, not names.
Yeah.
I'm that person. Hold on,
David Mitchell. David Mitchell is the one I'm talking about. He'd show up on there almost every year, and he shows up on 8 out of 10 Cats all the time and stuff like that too. John Richardson is low-key one of the funniest guys in the world, and he reminds me so much of one of my best friends, Juice. Like they are so almost identically close, even down to like the hate being touched and stuff like that. And yeah, so much fun. Yeah, watching him all the time makes me laugh. Just because I know who that person is, 100%. But guys like Rosen Conte and Aislinn, what's her name, the Irish girl. But there's so many funny people that show up on that show.
So many. Noel Fielding, Richard Ayoade. You've got all these,
Richard Ayoade, like if he isn't the best part of the Big Fat Quiz of the Year, I don't know what is, because every time or whatever, and they would have him with Russell Brand, or they'd have him with Noel Fielding and stuff like that. So good, so good,
so good, because he's so good at playing the straight man, but being hilarious because of how straight he's playing things. It's so good.
It is an fucking art. Like, I don't know how people. I wish people would understand how difficult it is to be funny while you're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. It is incredibly
It's an art form.
Yeah, and he just gets it. Like, and he has travel shows and books and stuff like that. It's like, I've started gathering stuff. Like, I have a James Acaster book. I've got what's his name? The guy from Pointless, Richard Osman. I got one. He has a mystery book. I just got that. I'm about to get Richard Ayoade's traveling book series. I want to get the David Mitchell stuff. There's so much that these guys have, and nobody in North America knows about this shit. The only other person I've ever heard in North America that knows anything about this stuff is Andraco, Mark Andraco.
Really?
Mark Andraco really likes this stuff. So yeah, so if there's one person I can get in touch with or whatever, and it's like, do you want to talk about this shit with me or whatever, it would be you. But if you know this shit, I'd fucking love to have you on the show and just talk about British panel.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to do that.
But nobody else understands it. It's like, or everybody watches. It's like, and you can watch every single one, like every single episode.
The Big Fat Quiz of the Year is on YouTube, and it's so funny. You don't even need to know current events to find it funny. That's what I love about it.
A Christmas tradition, like the kids doing the play. You don't have to know what the fuck they're talking about. If you can figure it out, that's great. But it's so good. It's so good. My favorite was when Sean Locke was doing it or whatever and talking about child labor afterwards.
Yes.
It was so good.
It's brilliant. The panel is what makes it. It's like, if you just got on regular people, it would never be as entertaining as it is with that group, because the best answers are the ones that aren't correct. Though that's what I love about it.
I do think you need the one person. You need like the base, right?
Yeah.
You need the one person that really doesn't understand what's going on, just so everybody else can be funnier. And then you need
your control person. The control person, and then everyone else.
You need the control.
It's so good. It's so good. But we need more of that. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen British panel shows, you need to.
Yeah. It's easy to find. It's just on YouTube. And they've got it's literally hundreds of episodes of it. These guys cranked this shit out for fucking years and no one paid attention. But it's so good. Like, just look up 8 out of 10 Cats. Like, either one. Like, 8 out of 10 Cats is on Amazon. Like, you can watch the original 8 out of 10 Cats on Amazon. And you get a chance to figure out what a treasure Sean Locke was.
Oh,
incredibly funny.
Such an incredible person.
He was funny because he was an asshole. Yeah. And they kept drilling it. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. And it's not like he was a jerk. He was just an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad. It's so sad that I got into that so late. It's so sad because of that fucking bullshit disease. But I would have loved to have 10 more years of Sean Locke doing stuff. Like 58 years old, just too early.
It's always too early, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Is that whole back wall behind you, is it all your stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
So none of it's your wife's. It's all of that back wall is everything.
No. Are you like no? She doesn't. No, she doesn't have much. Oh, wait a second.
What's the record behind you?
Okay. So, I again living in Toronto. My buddy. Oh yeah, Pliskin.
What was the name?
Pliskin. Like, if you see his face, he had when he was a kitten, this black thing was over his eye, an eye patch. So it was like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. So my buddy was a member of the Royal Canadian Yacht Club. Like I got to go sail and stuff like that out there with him quite a bit too. His buddy was a very nice Italian, from a very nice Italian family.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very, very nice Italian gentlemen. So they purchased a bunch of places that would close down and get stuff or whatever, hold their stuff up, like not hold, like in warehouses and sell it off. So our buddy took Jay through it, and Jason saw this thing. There was a place called, what is it? Oh yeah, Records on Wheels in Toronto. It's right on one of the main streets or whatever by the big mall they have downtown. So back in the 80s, there was the first song to ever use sampled music to hit number one was a song called Pump Up the Volume.
Oh, yes.
By a band named Mars. And so I guess because this place sold a bunch of records, they were eligible for this. So this is a gold, like a legit gold record.
Wow.
From Mars for Pump Up the Volume.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest things I own. And when I say, it was given to me.
Mask behind you, so.
Oh yeah, there's a few things like that. I got this guy in Mexico. My buddy bought me that picture for no reason.
I was about to say, is it like a favorite of yours or?
No. Well, it's a favorite now. It's a favorite that I have a black and white. I guess I found out that like Mexican luchadors, especially in the 70s, like never went anywhere without their mask to do anything.
Oh, wow.
So you can see this guy is wearing like a suit and tie.
So yeah.
He was also like an actor. That guy's name is Blue Demon 2.
Didn't want to come up with his own name.
He came up with the second. It was Blue Demon 2. That's his own name. So, his ex-girlfriend had got me a luchador book, and my brother, when my brother got married, he got all these guys cowboy masks or cowboy hats, and I hate country music with a burning and undescribable passion. So he got me this luchador mask, which isn't here. It's at where I practice with my buddies. So I think that's the thing. I think because like in all the wedding pictures from my brother's wedding, I'm wearing a luchador mask. This stuff kind of just piled up.
Yeah, as it does.
It happens,
What's below the Kiss poster?
Oh, this is a Salvador Dali. It's probably original, but
it's probably
an original Salvador Dali. I'm not sure which one this is. I did when I was in high school, I had to do a thing about Salvador Dali, but I'm not sure which one. Oh, it's fine.
You can.
I'm not sure. Yeah, no. I'm not sure which one this. The only one I like everybody else. The only one I'm really sure about is Persistence of Time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
Most people recognize that one.
But this one I like. Like I don't know. I just thought it was odd. Mm-hmm. So I like odd things. I imagine. I have no idea what it's called. I just know that I wouldn't, to be honest with you, like I wouldn't recognize it as Salvador Dali for sure, but it says Salvador Dali underneath it. So like, oh yeah, that's the Salvador Dali for
sure. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And you got it framed and everything.
It came like it, like
oh,
this,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know what this is. Like. It's just a thing, like this, yeah. Like it's not like the print was put in there. Like I put the print in that.
Yeah.
But this just came like this, so and it feels plasticky and stuff like that, which I think Dolly would have liked.
Yeah.
You know, it's odd. Like why would they have done all this stuff or whatever and not properly put a frame around it and stuff like that? I think that's strange or whatever. But again, I think that's a very Dolly thing.
Yeah.
So I think he would have actually enjoyed.
He would have appreciated it.
Yeah, it's like they gave only so much of a shit about it. You know what I mean?
It's life, though. You don't want to give too much of a shit about anything.
I've never actually seen. I don't think I've ever actually seen like a proper size Dolly painting. I've been to when I was at the Louvre. I was surprised at the size of things. So I don't know if this would be or if Salvador Dali painted very big or very small. But like when I was at the Louvre, I was surprised, like because everyone talks about how small the Mona Lisa is.
Right? Yeah.
It's not very small. It's big.
But everyone talks about it like that.
It's on this humongous wall.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is they put a lot of negative space around it, so by appearances it looks small because they've got all this wide, and everywhere else has got things quite close to it. So relative, it's going to look small.
There's hundreds and hundreds of people packed into each other. Take a picture. Like it's the same picture, guys. It's not going to change. I was taller than most of them, so I just went, took a couple of pictures, and like I just like when I was in Europe, I just had I had disposable cameras and stuff. It was 2000.
I miss those.
But like when I was there, like in that same room, there's pictures from the 1100s, like before people knew how to paint depth perception. Like I found that way more fascinating. If you go outside of that room, just outside, there's Botticelli stuff. There is more like John the Baptist by Da Vinci is also there, which is a big painting. Michelangelo. There's all kinds of stuff there. When I was there, I was stumbling around and I basically bumped into the Venus de Milo, and nobody else was there. There was nobody else there. I couldn't believe it.
They got to get that one Mona Lisa picture. That's why.
Everybody, but there wasn't one picture. Like I couldn't believe it. They just keep taking pictures. It's like it's not going to change. It's the same picture. It's just it's been the same picture for 600 years, guys. Oh my god. But I really like the Louvre. You go up the stairs or whatever and like the wing there is called La Joconde or whatever. Like it's everywhere. La Joconde is this way, right? So there's this big, huge statue. Is like the Wing Victory or whatever. It's like Nike, like this Nike statue or whatever. It's like on the stairs there and stuff. It's like nobody pays attention to any of this stuff. They all just want the one picture of the Mona Lisa, and I was fine with that. Like you have so much space to yourself.
Yeah, I prefer that. I'd prefer that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what baffled me is like why everyone was so obsessed with that one, and there's so many other great works. Like I'm not discounting the Mona Lisa, by the way. I just think that there are things that are equally, if not more, impressive, and yet people were just
I'm really glad I saw it. So when you went there, did you go through the metro to get there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did too. Like I was staying out near La Gare du Nord, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I was a ways out. So, and it's fucking, the metro there is fucking bullshit stupid.
Oh my God.
You have to follow, you know why it's like that?
No.
Because when they built the subways in Paris, the people that owned the buildings owned all the land underneath it. So instead of having to pay, and you know how in Paris all the roads are circular?
Yeah.
So they have to do this to go just underneath the road.
So that's why. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I never understood it. I was like, this is the most baffling system I've ever seen in my life.
especially I just come from like Stockholm and stuff like that, which may be the best, and then I have to go to fucking Paris, which is the worst. Like
Right.
Toronto's is fine too, but the worst. So I get there, and it's like I was smoking, so it's like I'm gonna go have a cigarette before I spend the next fucking 8 hours in this fucking museum.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I fucking get out there, there's a fucking guy taking a piss on the side of the Louvre. Like, and this is a thing about Paris. They treat that fucking city like a toilet.
Oh, it's
There's the Jean.
Spoiler alert for anyone that wants to go to Paris. It's actually quite dirty. If you go to like,
it's gross.
It's so bad. It's so
There's
bad.
a gendarme on a cheval, like 5 feet away. It's like, oh, this is a no problem. Piss on the fucking museum. What do we fucking care, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and like, oh yeah. So I'm in that fucking town. I'm at this fucking hotel, and I get woken up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. There's all these fucking horns honking. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I look outside the window, and there's a guy taking a piss in the middle of the street. There's a guy stopping traffic because he had to piss in the middle of the street. Fucking Paris, and this is the city of lights, eh?
The city of love.
La ville de lumière.
Yeah.
No. La city de urine. La ville de urine.
Yeah.
The worst.
Fully agree. I went to Paris just to say I went to Paris, and I don't think it's going to ever be on my list ever again. I'm going to be real honest. It's not one I'm going to return to.
One thing I would say is that I was there by myself. So if Tanya ever wanted to go to Paris.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good enough reason.
Yeah, I would say fine. I would say like spend like the 3 days like I was there. It's like that's all you need.
That's all you need. You are not going to see much more out of that city.
Yeah, everything I heard outside of Paris and France is gorgeous and lovely.
Apparently the countryside is immaculate, and I didn't have enough time to go see that, and I'm very upset because I feel like I would have had a much better time.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time out in Stockholm and in Tallinn, Estonia, and stuff like that. So, very brief spots in Hamburg and in Copenhagen and in Brussels. Paris, it was fun. Nice. But I fucking loved London. I loved London. Like I would spend years. Like if I was by myself, I would want to live in London. Like I love London.
I could see that for you. To be fair,
that's the kind of city for me.
Yeah, London's great. Busy.
Yeah, I fucking loved it.
Right.
Yeah, it's busy, but it shuts down. It shuts down. Like it shuts down at like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Surprisingly, you'd think it wouldn't.
Yeah, if I was 20, if I was 25 again, I might be a little more pissed. But I'm 40, blah blah. So I'm,
40 and some change.
I'm fine with things shutting down.
Do you want to be out any later than that?
No, I do not.
Exactly.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good.
You're talking to someone who came home before midnight the other night, so because I drank too much too fast, and I was like, I need to put myself to bed,
I run a bar. I see it all the time. Like if it comes down to an option of going to a bar or doing something else, it's always something else. But that's my job.
Yeah.
So like I don't like whatever anybody else does. Like say you're a fucking lawnmower or whatever. It's like we got a chance to do go to a bar and go lawn mowing. The guy who runs a lawnmower job, he's gonna say, I want to go to a bar. It's like, I'd probably like going lawn mowing.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm going lawn mowing tonight. Yeah, I'm around,
get out there.
I'm not around lawnmowers all the time. I'm around people, who drink all the time. So, I'm
that person that's telling the bartender all of my life story. Yeah, absolutely. It's much safer. I'm that person that tells everyone my life story.
Oh yeah.
whatever's going on in my life. You know, that's my whole thing, is make friends with everyone by telling them everything about me.
No, that's fine. I was a bartender for I don't know how many years. I made my living listening to people.
You must have heard
tell
so
me
many stories. Yeah. You must know so
Yeah,
much.
you know, you're just talking to drunk people. It's
Yeah.
like it's not about listening to stories and everybody has these fascinating tales. It's about patience.
Oh, I bet.
One thing I have that I think I do well that other people don't is I have more patience than anybody. Like I have more patience than anybody. Like I can take a lot of shit and I
Mm-hmm.
can listen to people with their bullshit a lot and I can remain calm. Like I've worked in this place for 20 years and I've never had to be violent. I've never put my hands on anybody. But and I'm 6 feet tall, 240 pounds now, and stuff like that. If I had to, I would, but I've never had to. I just explain to people, you're done. Like tonight, you're done. You come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. I have to
Try again
deal
next
with
week.
some not so great people. Some
Mm-hmm. I
people whose
bet.
profession is to be not so great because I'm in a not so great neighborhood. So uh, you just you be who you are and stuff like that, and people really aren't going to give you too much slack. Like again,
Mm-hmm.
I've never had to throw anybody out. I've wanted to. I can tell you that.
I
I've
bet.
fucking wanted to.
That's surprising because, like,
It's been
I know
hard.
plenty of people that have a getting kicked out of the bar story over here. We might be different kinds of drinkers, or we just have very little tolerance here. I don't know. I haven't been kicked out of a bar yet, but I don't know whether it's.
I don't think that's on you. I think that's on the people who've been kicked out. I think that's more on the people that were in the establishment and should have been better.
Yeah, it's the tolerance.
Because yeah, it's you, what you're when you run a bar, you're providing a service. You're providing you're throwing a party every night.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When you start being a fucking asshole to people all the time, who the hell wants to go to your party?
No one.
So yeah, you have to fucking chill out, guys. Like as much as people want to get upset and as much as how people want to get violent and stuff like that, they can all get talked down. This isn't a huge deal. I'll never understand people who use violence first and we want to throw them through the fucking door and stuff like this. Like, what the fuck?
Gosh.
Why would you want to do that? Like these people are going to come back. These people know where you work.
And
Like,
then you couldn't do it in any other industry. You couldn't. If someone upsets you at any other job, you couldn't just chuck them out the doors.
Be nice though.
No, wouldn't it? Yeah, my job there, but it's a few people I want to.
You're a hairdresser, right? Like
I am. I have scissors, and I can't cut anyone with them because word would get out.
One of my best friends, like since high school, is a hairdresser. Like still cuts my hair to this day. Like I saw her on Thursday. Did I see her Wednesday or Thursday? Like for 30 years, more than 30 years we've been buddies. So, and she is in a not great neighborhood and stuff like that. And I would just imagine how much easier her life would be if she would just start hitting people with scissors that come in there. But she hasn't, so it's like good for her. But yeah, everybody has a tough job. Just there's a real simple formula to life, and it's just don't be a dick. That's it.
Easy as that. Easy as that.
It is easy. Just don't be.
It's actually it's sage advice for everything. Just don't be a dick. I don't understand how some people don't get that, but
A lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't understand it. Everybody has it hard. And it doesn't matter how much money you make or where you live or whatever. Everybody has something difficult. But you know what? If you want to have a good time, if you want to have a good life, just don't be a dick.
Right.
Just if you can help. If you can't, be supportive.
Right.
That's it. That's the cure to life. You don't want to fucking be fucking sad about everything. Don't be a dick.
No.
That's
right?
it. It's pretty simple. It's simple.
Yeah.
It like the mystery. There is no real mystery to life. The mystery is other people think differently than you.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick about it. That's it.
No. Everyone's got something they're going through as well.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know.
I mean, it's pretty sage advice. I mean, look, we've been going for like almost 2.5 hours now, and I think that's I know. It's a pretty good place to end on, is with some sage advice about life. Unless you've got any more nuggets of wisdom.
I could have done this an hour and a half ago. That was so, we could have wrapped this up in 45 minutes with all my sage advice. I just could have thrown out the greatest hits.
Yeah, exactly. That's all. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we obviously talked briefly about your show, but where can people find you and your content and more Snark sage advice?
Well, it seems like things keep piling up these days for whatever reason. You will always be able to find me on the Northern Entertainment Group, and there's a show called Have You Seen This? That I do Tuesdays. We're taking the rest of the season off, which means we're taking 1 week. We're taking this week off.
What a hiatus!
We'll be back. Yeah, I know, incredible. But people gonna miss us. Oh, yeah. So, oh my gosh. We'll be back next week with that. I'll be doing a show with the Quebecois French guy. He's going to be talking about stuff Frenchie talks about. I'll help him with that. I have, again, I'm not sure what that show's about. I know I get to talk
You've just signed up for it anyway.
Like that. Yeah. I'll be, we talked about for 2.5 hours over nothing. So if there's a topic I can talk about with Frenchie or whatever, we'll talk about it. I think we're going to be talking about things like jerseys and barbecue sauce, just different things, which is good. I have zero problems with that. And if you're a member of the LGR Patreon, looks like I may be doing a show on there coming very soon, talking about after shows. I think it's very similar to something you and I had talked about at one point, very briefly. And that's about it for now. You never know. One of my favorite things to do is show up on Schmodown after shows and stuff like that and just throw comments in. So you'll always find me in comments sections everywhere or whatever.
The more Snark, the better.
Oh my God, can you believe it? Could you imagine more Snark? Ugh, the worst.
No, I said the more Snark, the better.
But I appreciate that. Well, and it was awesome having you as a teammate. And it was a very brief time, which I think was odd, but I am very happy that you have found this new thing, and you seem to, you're starting to flourish and stuff like this. I think it's very odd or whatever. I think it is. It's like all of a sudden, like you went from this person who wasn't around to you were part of the show or whatever, and then it's like, no, you're too big for the show. You gotta have your own thing and stuff like that. But I really love that show. Like that whole casting or whatever. It's like I get it. I understand what you were going through and stuff like that. So I'm very proud of you, and I'm glad that you're doing well. And I hope that you keep doing well. And it's going to be very interesting to see you pop up on other things. I heard that you're going to be doing something with Tim Sim or something like that. You're going to be doing maybe some Schmodown talking and stuff like that, which some is stuff needed.
LGR, maybe? Who knows?
Oh, those guys, come on.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Why are they not cancelled yet? Come on.
The worst.
We love them around here. But, yeah, you can find Snark. I'll put all the links below where you can find him in his shows or show. If I get Frenchie's one, I'll put it in there as well. But otherwise, you can find me. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get rid of Frenchie. He'll be around. But otherwise, you can find me on my Twitter or somewhere on this channel reacting to stuff and interviewing more fabulous people from the community. But otherwise, this was Conversations with the Kiwi, and I'll see you guys in the next one.